Namaste.
Namaste.
On behalf of the Indian American of Lexington, I'm part of the education subcommittee. My name is Archana Basu. We are especially thrilled to continue the conversation we had yesterday with Ami Ganatra. You'll hear from her in just a moment. I'll keep my comments brief. But we are proud supporters of this event, especially as it takes place during AAPI month. So, of course, it's important to point out that Ramayana and Mahabharata are epics indigenous to Asia, and in fact are revered in many countries, including, I want to make sure I get them all, Burma, Indonesia, Cambodia, Laos, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Thailand, Malaysia, Japan, Mongolia, Vietnam, and China. They are foundational to Hinduism and Buddhism, and influential in other dharmic faiths across the world. It is especially wonderful to be in partnership with First Parish, an institution that uplifts all faiths. So Pastor Ann was here yesterday and talked a little bit about First Parish, which is part of the Unitarian Universalist movement within Christianity. For those that don't know, Unitarian Universalism goes back to the Transcendentalists here in Massachusetts, in Concord, Thoreau, Emerson, etc., who in turn were influenced by Vedanta in a very deep way. So, very appropriate choice of location. Of course, India itself is a land of many faiths and diverse traditions. The Rig Veda, one of Hinduism's most ancient texts, declared thousands of years ago, truth is one, sages call it by various names. Ekam Sat Vidya Bahuda Vedanti. We invite you to listen and learn with us. Thank you so much.
One more quick round of introducing the speaker today. Welcome, Namaste everyone, good afternoon, and welcome to this part 2 of this interactive series of talks with Ami Ganatra. The event has been organized in collaboration with the First Parish in Lexington, as Archana mentioned, Hindu Parents Network, that is a Kohana initiative, and the Education Committee of Indian Americans of Lexington. Kohana is a 501c3 grassroots level Hindu advocacy and civil rights organization that strives to collectively represent Hindu voices in various spheres of life to advocate for a better understanding of Hindu heritage and tradition and to work towards a betterment of society through mutual respect and understanding. Hindu Parents Network is a support group for diaspora Hindu parents and helps Hindu parents with a variety of challenges like bullying, arising out of current geopolitics, and understanding Hindu Dharma. HPN also strives to improve the portrayal of Hindu Dharma in schools, engage in dialogue with school districts across the country, provide resources to empower Hindu youth, and help them build confidence in their heritage and culture, which is an integral part of their identity. And now, our esteemed speaker this afternoon, Ami Ganatra. Ami is the author of 2 best-selling books on Itihāsa, or history, and Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad alumni. She is also a devout yoga practitioner, a certified yoga instructor, and a student of Saṃskrit and Indian knowledge systems. Her books, Mahabharata, Unraveled, and Ramayana, Unraveled, are not retellings or imaginations, but a well-researched attempt to go back to the original Itihāsa and present the stories, learnings, and nuances for what they are and make the epics accessible to all. So, without further ado, I hand over to Ami.
Namaste, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Krishna. Thank you once again. I see some people from yesterday have actually come back. So thank you for that. And lots of new faces. I have to repeat this. I'm here only and only because of this one lady sitting here, Rajeshwari. I was on the top tour in America and Boston wasn't in the list. But she's like, nahi, aapko aana hi hai, I will make it happen. And I'm like, how do you do it? And she's like, you don't worry, I'll do it. And here we are. I don't have one but 2 talks in Boston. So we had one yesterday and today we have another one. Mahabharata, Ramayana, research. And the way I want to do it is that maybe I'll talk for 30-35 minutes. We'll see how it goes. And keep it open for Q&A. I want to take as many questions as possible because I know that everyone knows something or the other about Ramayana, right? We are mostly, I can see Indians here. So everyone knows a little bit, and everyone I'm sure has lots of questions. So I'd rather take this opportunity to answer the questions yatha samarthya as much as I can, rather than just talking what I have in mind. But as in some context, in one of the places I was asked this question that why did you take up Mahabharata first and then Ramayana? Because Mahabharata and Ramayana is my first book. Ramayana is the second book. Because they were like, Mahabharata is much bigger and epic than Ramayana is. Even the Saṃskrit of Mahabharata is tougher than the Saṃskrit of Valmiki Ramayana. Yeah? And I actually thought about it, that's very interesting, that's a very good observation, that why did I pick up Mahabharata first? So, the answer to that is actually what I am seeing in a lot of people around me. Even today when I am doing these talks, a lot of people tell me that Mahabharata is very interesting. Krishna, Bhagavan for today, knows how to play his game, very diplomatic, breaks rules, is not rigid. Yeah, Chali Kapti, works for us. Yeah. But Ram, very stubborn, left his wife, dharma not meant for today. Yeah, we can't connect to Shira. Not just women, but this is just last week I was in Delaware for a talk, and one of the uncles, he was 94 years old, so my uncle lives in Delaware, he took me to this kaka and told him that, oh, my niece, she talks about Ramayana Mahabharata. And he's like, Beta, I have one question for you. I'm 94 now, but somewhere this answer, I still have this question that why did Sri Ram do what he did with Sita Ma? Yeah? And I'm still not convinced. So I'm sure a lot of us have that question, right? And I had a similar question. I mean, question, yeah, it was not even a question. I had dismissed Ramayana altogether. So I said, इसमें तो मजा वैसे भी नहीं है, there's no मजा in that. So I'd rather start with Mahabharata, which is a lot more happening. Okay. So I started reading Mahabharata, and also the reason I started exploring Mahabharata was this, that there were lots of questions I had. Questions around what exactly did the rishis mean by dharma? Because on one end, we are told this is a dharma grantha. On the other end, we see people who are called dharmic or the dharmaraj, he's taking away his wife. We are generally told that this text is written by victors. History is written by victors. We already know this, right? So if history is written by victors, in Mahabharata, we consider the Pandavas to be one only because they actually won, and they are considered heroes because they won. If it was the other way around, Pandavas were not really heroes because they broke all rules in the war, right? The Kauravas, who we consider bad or villains, actually stuck by the rules. Right? So, the narrative is because of who won. It is not really about good or bad or dharma or adharma. Right? But on the other hand, everywhere the word dharma is used. It is called the dharma yuddha, it is called the dharma shastra. Right? Then what is really going on? Were our rishis so confused that they really didn't know what is right and wrong? Because that's the other thing told to us, right? That everything is grey. When we talk of Mahabharata, we are told everything is grey. Good have bad, bad have good. There is no clear good, there is no clear bad. So, chal kya raha was the question in my mind. The more I read, I got confused. Because while there is so much written about Mahabharata, even Ramayana, but Mahabharata, everybody has written their perspective, which is great. But let's remember their perspective, individual perspective, is actually fiction. Because nobody can sit in the person's head and say what was in their mind, right? So it is fiction. Actually, they honestly even categorize it as fiction. There is a very beautiful book called The Palace of Illusions. A lot of you might have read it, right? A lot of women tell me it's my favorite book. The way that Chitraji has described Draupadi. I liked it when I read it, but after actually having read the Mahabharata, I feel like she has done absolute injustice to the character of Draupadi, while victimizing her to no end. right? So one is this, like, there were no answers that I got to my questions. The other was, we are always told that one, your Itihāsa is actually not Itihāsa. For tradition, we call Mahabharata, Ramayana as Itihāsa, right? But we are told actually this is not Itihāsa, these are just mythologies, right? But on the other hand, if they want to label an entire civilization as misogynist and casteist, they will take up examples from there and see, देखो कर्ण के साथ क्या हुआ? You have always been a casteist civilization. See how you've treated your women. Look at Sita, look at Draupadi. You've always been a misogynist, tyrannical, patriarchal, you name it. That kind of civilization. So yeah, you decide, no, if it's just mythology or something that is not true, then how can you use those episodes to brand the civilization? And if it is history, then why do you call it mythology? Because it's very inconvenient. If you start dating it, it will go way back. Does not align with the Aryan invasion theory. Hence, you don't even want to give it credit, but use it for your convenience. So that was the other. Yes, I know now. But Tabhi, I was like, what's going on? Yeah. And then when I started reading the Mahabharata, I realized that all the questions that I had in mind, the answers of those are present in the text of Vyas Rachit Mahabharata. What we call the actual Mahabharata. Nobody's perspective was required. Very, very clear why certain adjectives have been used, why certain actions and decisions have been taken. Yeah? But for some reason we don't read the Mahabharata. And then when I realized that there is so much which I thought I knew but I didn't know, I felt maybe it's true for Ramayana as well. Right? Because I thought I knew Mahabharata. But my knowing went for a toss when I actually read the text. The same thing that I was maybe what I think about Sri Ram or Ramayana might be very different. Let me at least pick up and read. And I must tell you that Mahabharata and Unraveled will obviously be special to me because it's the first book. But Ramayana and Unraveled has been a more emotionally enriching journey for me. I was agitated when I read the Valmiki Ramayana. Because the text is very clear on all aspects. Yeah, but what we have been told is so wrong and misplaced that the book doesn't even talk about. The ideas that we have about Ramayana, about the society then, are all based on works that have come after Valmiki Ramayana, not on Valmiki Ramayana. Yeah, even the character, the Vyaktitva of Sri Ram is so different in Valmiki Ramayana versus the others. So that's the thing. So when I actually wrote the books and then I started talking about it, a lot of people had similar questions which I had. That's not even, I didn't even realize that everybody else was thinking on the same lines. Yeah? That's why I also think have lots of questions and we will take the questions, as many as we have. But I'll tell you why knowing the Itihāsa is important. One, or rather there are two key reasons. One, Itihāsa has a purpose. Yeah? Itihāsa has a purpose of giving us lessons for life. Itihāsa first. Do you want me to actually explain why we consider these texts as Itihāsa and not mythology?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I'll start with that. Itihāsa. Okay, the word Itihāsa is Itihāsa, which means thus it was, does it happen. They are talking about something that definitely happened in the past. Okay. Now, if you look at the entire scriptures of Hindu Dharma, they are extremely well classified. Extremely well. We have Shruti Smriti. Yeah. Within the Shrutis, we have Veda Upanishad. Under the Smriti, we have Darshan Shastra. We have Dharma Shastras. We have Darshan Granthas. Yeah. We have Itihāsa Purana. Which means not any text is called anything. Dharma Shastras are not called Itihāsa. Darshanas are not called Dharma Shastras. Right? So Rishis knew what they were talking about when they are actually calling a book Itihāsa. Only two books are called, two granthas are called Itihāsa. Ramayana, Valmiki Rachit Ramayana, Mahabharata, Vyasaji Rachit Mahabharata. And the definition of Itihāsa is what I always say, Dharma artha kam mokshana upadesha samarvitam Purva Vrittam Katha Yukta Itihāsam Prachakshate. Purva Vrittam. Underline this word, the definition of Itihāsa is given to us. Purva Vrittam, it happened, something that happened in the past. Katha Yuktam, it has elements of Katha. It has been narrated to us in a Katha format. And it has a purpose. The purpose is teaching us lessons of life. Teaching us lessons that can help make our lives more worthwhile. About Chaturvidha Purushartha, not getting into the details. Yeah. So if we have to take the right lessons from Itihāsa, we have to know it for what it is, no? Else, our inferences will be completely wrong. Okay, let me take an example. Let me narrate a story. We all know Sri Ram ko Vanvas hua tha, right? And he went on Vanvas. So Kaikeyi said, Ramasya aranya gavana Bharatasya abhishechanam. Send Ram to the forest and crown Bharat the king. And we know Sri Ram went to the forest. What is the reason? Why did Sri Ram just go to the forest? Why did he agree and say, okay, I'll go?
To keep his father's promise.
To keep his father's promise. That's what we usually know. He was an obedient son. He should keep his father's promise. But you know what? In Valmiki Ramayana, there are actually 3-4 sardas dedicated to this prasanga, where he explains why he is going to the forest, and keeping the father's promise is a very small part of it. Is it to keep the father's promise? Yes. But was his father right in doing what he did? Was Sri Ram at fault? So if the father is not right, why should he listen to his father? What does Krishna teach Arjuna on the battlefield? They are the same thing now. What does Arjuna say? They are my family members. That is my grandfather. That is my guru. Why should I fight? There, what is Krishna saying? That you must fight because it's your dharma. You must fight for justice. You must fight for nyaya. Right? This situation is actually not very different. And you know who points that out? Lakshman. Lakshman says, our father is mistaken. Our father is taking this decision only and only because he is under the influence of Kaikeyi. So Dashrath had a very soft corner for Kaikeyi. Okay. Now, making Sri Ram the Raja was not the decision of Dashrath alone. He proposed to his entire assembly, which included the who's and who of Ayodhya. Okay, that after me, I propose that Sri Ram should be the king. And he asked everyone that, do you agree? Because if you don't agree, I will not make him the king. Yeah? So everybody is like, ha, we agree, make him the king. Dashrath is like, no, not that way. You tell me why you agree. आप केवल हाँ में हाँ मत मिलाओ. Don't say because I have proposed his name. Yeah? You give me reasons for why you support Sri Ram as the king. So then everybody gives their reasons that why they think Sri Ram should be the king. And the decision is taken by the entire Sabha to make Sri Ram the king. So there was a pratigya which Dashrath made to Kaikeyi, but there was also a promise which he made to his praja. What did he do? He said, no, now my wife is sick, so he became powerless in front of her and he asked Sri Ram to go. So Lakshman is saying that our father is wrong. Just because of his influence and soft corner for Kaikeyi, he's sending you away. That is not right. That is not dharma. So even if our father is wrong, we must not listen. Badhyatamba. He said you should either capture him or even kill him. Because that is what a Kshatriya dharma requires us to do. Dharma sansthapan. Sri Ram explains to him something. And that part is one of my most favorite parts in Ramayana, which until I read it, nobody had ever told me. Okay, so what happens? Sri Ram says, one is yes, that it is our father, it is not just a father, he is also the Raja, right? So it is, we as citizens and as sons should obviously be obedient to our father. That is definitely one thing. Second, he says, Probably if I choose to not go, my father will be happy that I have not gone. But I know that deep in his heart, he will always believe that his promise to Kaikeyi was not fulfilled, so it will burn him from inside. I cannot be responsible for his death. That is the second reason. Then he says, but there is something even more important, because of which I believe I must go. Sri Ram says, Kritanta eva drashtavya mata pravasane. In this pravas of mine, in this vanvas of mine, I see the hand of fate, a hand of destiny. Now, why is he saying that? He says, till now, in all these years, I have not done a thing which would hurt Kaikeyi Ma and make her have bad feelings towards me. I have done nothing. What more? Kaikeyi Ma has never discriminated between me and Bharat. She has always loved me like her son. So for her to wish bad for me is actually very weird. It is not justifiable through rationale that why suddenly she is asking for a wish which will hurt me. Yeah? So he says, when such a situation develops, which happens how? Asamkalpitam akasmikam, which happens without you ever having thought about it. You were just not anticipating it. And it happened suddenly. He was going to be crowned the king in the next few hours or so. In the next few hours. Right? He had already done the whatever ritual he had to do overnight. It was morning. Everybody had assembled because they needed to start the Rajabhishek. We say that Hindi ki muh tak niwala aake chhin gaya. It was literally that. Akasmika, very, very suddenly. In that situation, Sri Ram says, we better accept what has been dealt to us, because otherwise it's not making any sense. Which means there is something else that destiny might have in store for us. Better not to fight destiny. Better accept what is coming, because only then I will know what actually life has in store for me. Do you see how deep this thought is? It is not because Pitaji ne bol diya se chale gaye. He is actually giving us a profound lesson on dealing with situations which are not in our control. And many times in life, we are faced with such situation where everything we have done. Sri Ram did nothing that could make this situation, that would call for the situation, right? But still it came. What do you do in such situations when you've done everything? Yeah, we know some of our kids, they've prepared everything, they want to take medicine. Yeah, all the mehnat, all the parishram, all the hard work has been done, and still, just at the right time, the person falls sick, or something else happens, and what they had planned for does not happen. Does it mean it's the end of life? You keep trying. Sometimes even after that it doesn't happen. Have you heard of Jack Ma? Yeah? Jack Ma wanted to do his MBA. Yeah? He applied to multiple colleges in US. He applied to Harvard. Every time he got rejected. Okay, so many times he applied, he got rejected. He didn't sit and cry. He said, okay, fine. What did he do? What company did he build? Alibaba. Today, Harvard calls him to give lectures. So what does it mean? That there are situations in life which are not in our control. We cannot lose hope. Sometimes we just have to accept it and let life show us what it has in store for us. Right? You see the story of any successful person. There will always be some story like this. Some failure where they did not give up and they accepted the situation for what it is. And this is the lesson which Sri Ram is giving us. But Lakshman says, this fate weight and all that, only cowards talk about. Yeah? Only cowards talk about fate. It doesn't suit you to talk about fate. And वैसे देखा जाए तो when Sita Ma was taken away, does Sri Ram say, oh, whatever destiny has in store, जाने दो. Then what is the difference in the two situations? Anyone, what is the difference? Why does he say nothing doing? I am going to go find her cow or thing?
Because in one situation he was going to hurt his father, but in the second one there was no one getting hurt.
That is a good point, and that is definitely one thing, but there is something else.
In the father's situation, like you said, he feels that the situation is outside his control. So the decision has already been made by others. However, in Sita's situation, he feels it's up to him to decide, to go and fight for her or not.
Exactly. Let me connect this back to Gita, and the answer you will find on it. What is this most famous shloka in Gita? Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You have control over your action. You don't have control over the outcome. It is not said don't expect the outcome. It says you don't have control over the outcome. Now, why don't we have control over the outcome? Some people say, oh, Gita is all fatalistic. Yeah? But Krishna actually explains that. Krishna has answers for everything. He explains that in the 18th adhyaya, shlok number 13 and 14. He says, Panchetani Mahabhavo Karanani Libodhabe. There are 5 things. Hey Mahabhavo, hey Arjun, there are 5 things, listen from me, which decide success. Okay, which are those? He says, Adhishthan, Karta, Karanam, Prithak Vidha Cheshtha, and he says, Panchamiti Daivam, Karta. Any work we take up, if the person doing that work is not qualified enough, if he does not have the right skill sets, will the work succeed? No, right? If the person has the skill sets, but he does not use the right resources, he does not use the right instruments, tools, will that work succeed? No. Every project that we take up has to follow a certain process of doing it, right? If a person doesn't follow the process, will the work succeed? Adhisthana, the surrounding conditions. Say we are building a bridge. Before building a bridge, we need to see now what is the seismic, what is the earthquake probability of this area, all other things. If those things we don't take care of, again the project is not going to succeed. But after having done all this, which is all in our control, is there a chance that outcome still cannot be according to our wish? Anybody who is in project management, anybody who does valuations, what is the factor that we use in project management when we decide project plans and everything? Risk factor. What is this risk factor? Probability. What is that? Krishna says, Panchamiti Daivam. That which is not in your control, the hand of fate, a hand of destiny, the Daivam, that will always play a role. However, unless and until you do your Purushartha, Daivam cannot do anything. Right? So we can't blame our failures on Daivam. No. Eventually it could be Daivam. But what is the difference? In the first case, Sri Ram is saying, I have done everything to ensure a situation like this doesn't happen. Right? In the second one, he has not even started his Purushartha. So, every situation cannot be blamed on Daiva. No. Most important is for us to do our Purushartha. Only after that is done, can Daivam have a role to play or not to play. Right? This is what Sri Ram is actually talking about in what he is explaining to Lakshman. Is anything mine? No. Everything is Valmiki's. Everything he talks about is whatever I have said, everything Valmiki writes in Valmiki Ramayana. So profound, so much to take away. Otherwise, what do our kids say? अरे पापा ने बोल दिया तो चले गए. Not for today, right? Today nobody can be that obedient. Nobody is going to listen to your father just because he's sick. In one of the talks in New Jersey recently, the talk was with lots of parents, and they were like, how do we make our children like Ram, where they do what we tell them to do? I said, nothing happening. You cannot make your children listen to you out of obedience. Are you doing that with your parents? Right? No, you expect your children to do that? Not happening. They will question. You will have to equip yourselves with answers, right logic, if you have to get them to listen to you. You will have to teach by example and buddhi and logic. Right? Don't expect. Even there, Sri Ram had the wisdom to take the decision that he did, and it was not based only because Pitaji ne kaha. Yeah. So this is one. Now to get the right lesson, we need to know Itihāsa what it is. Okay. Now what happens? So this is the chalo, theek hai. The Pitaji ki baat mano still has some lesson in it. But how can it impact a narrative? As I said, one Itihāsa we should know to take the right lessons. Second, especially today, when there is a narrative warfare going on, as I said, we are being branded using some of these incidents. We really need to question whether these incidents happened or not. Let me take an example from Mahabharata. We all believe Karna ke saath atyachar hua. Karna was wrong. Correct? Why was he wrong? Why was he wrong?
Because of his caste.
Because of his caste. Right? Now what is there for us to learn from this? That if you are born in the wrong jati, you are done deal. Correct? If you are born in the wrong jati, you are done deal. You can be the best answer, but you will never get your due. Is that what Mahabharata is really saying? Because we call it the Dharma Shastra, right? What is the biggest siddhanta we have? We have the Karma Siddhanta. Right? Whatever happens to you will be because of your karma. It cannot be just because of the jati you are born in. Right? So somewhere this is not making sense. But let me tell you again more about this. He was of which jati? Suta. Okay. And Suta, we are told, was a discriminated jati. Okay, fine. Which was the Rajya, which was the kingdom, where Pandavas spent the year of disguise? 13th year. Yeah, Matsyadesh in the kingdom of Virat. Okay. You know who was the wife of Virat? Sudeshna. With Sudeshna he has a daughter. The name of the daughter is? Uttara. Uttara was married to? Abhimanyu. Okay, so Uttara was married to Abhimanyu. We know this. Uttara Abhimanyu's son was Parikshit, right? So basically it is through Parikshit that the lineage of Pandavas has started. Okay. Now in the same Rajya, there was this Senapati, an extremely powerful commander. His name was Kichak. Kichak was so powerful that he tried to violate Sairandri, who was Draupadi. Even the king couldn't do much because he was such a powerful warrior. When Kichak was killed, immediately Duryodhana realized that it has to be Bhima. Because Kichak was so powerful that only a handful of people could actually kill him. He was that powerful warrior. You know who was Kichak? You know how he is referred to in Mahabharata?
Sudeshna's brother.
Yes, but how he is called? Karna, we all know he was wrong because Suputra, we see in the television, no? We think it's a Karna. Kichak is also called a Sutaputra. Okay? He was a Sutaputra, he was a Suta. Sudeshna was a Suta. Pandavas hated the Suta so much that they married their son to the daughter of a Suta. Making sense? But it is true. Which means there is something wrong here, right? I'll tell you what is wrong. You know who are Sutas? First of all, Sutaputra is not a Gali. It is a Jati Vachak Shabda. For example, many places, Vidur is called Kshapta. Kshaptas are progenies of Kshatriya father and Shudra mother. He is called Kshapta. We know he is the Prime Minister of Hastinapur. He is not called Kshapta as a Gali. It is just a Gyati Vachak Shabda. Suta is also a Gyati Vachak Shabda, a Jati Vachak Shabda. You know what is the mixture? It is a mixed jati. It is a mixed jati of a Brahman Stree and Kshatriya Purush. Brahman Stree and Kshatriya Purush. Kichak was a Suta. The state that he came from, the kingdom that he came from, Kekare, was a Suta Raja. Angadesh, of which Karna was made the Raja, was always a Suta Desha. Okay, Sutas were not just Sarathis. They were warriors. They were also Kathavachaks. Okay, they were also Kathavachaks. Kichak, I gave you an example already, who was a warrior, right? You know who was the Kathavachak in Mahabharata? Who was a Suta? The story of Mahabharata comes to us from a rishi called Unraveled. Okay, so you know when was Mahabharata narrated first time in public? Huh?
Janamena.
Correct. In the Yagna of Janmajaya. Who was Janmajaya? He was the son of Parikshit. So son of Parikshit, grandson of Abhimanyu, great grandson of Arjuna. Okay. He is doing this yagna where Vyas comes with his students. So Janmajaya asks him that my ancestors were men of great virtue. Then why did they fight such a destructive war? Vyas says, I'll tell you the story of your forefathers. And he tells his Shishya Vaishnavanji to say, narrate the story. So Vaishnavanji narrates the story of the Pandavas and Kauravas to Janmajaya. In that yagna, there were lots of rishis and other people who had come as guests. One of them was Ugrashava. Rishi Ugrashava was a Kathavachak. He goes around forests and gurukuls narrating stories. So, after the Sarpa Satra, the Yagna Satra, he went to Naimisharanya, where there was a gurukul of Rishi Shaunak. The students of Rishi Shaunak asked Ugrashava that, where are you coming from? And he says, I heard this Mahabharata, the Katha of Kauravas and Pandavas. And they said, we also want to hear. These are the first two stanzas of Adi Parva. And then we are told, Sauti Uvacha. Why Sauti? Because he comes from the family of Sutas. Mahabharata is told to us by a Suta who has been given the position of a Rishi. Right? But what should be your next question? And I am sure you should ask me this question. You should ask me, no, I have been saying all this, but still Dronacharya refused to teach Karna. Correct? If Sutas was not a problem, then why not teach Karna? The truth is, Dronacharya not teaching Karna is not given in Mahabharata. Karna was very much a student of Dronacharya. We are told that Adhirath, who is the friend of Dhritarashtra, so the words used for Adhirath are also very interesting. He is called Mahayashasvi. He has a good standing in the society. Yeah. So Adhirath is basically we are told that when the Kauravas, Pandavas and other princes go to learn at Dronacharya's ashram, Karna also goes. But what is the problem? Karna, although he is older than everybody, he is always Spardha Manastu Parthena. We are told he is always competing with Arjuna. Always. And what would you? The Pandava Avamanyat Duryodhana Samashratya. Under becoming friends with Duryodhana, he would always insult the Pandavas. Okay, while in the ashram of Dronacharya. But Arjuna was Arjuna, he would just focus on his practice. and he was coming out as one of the finest warriors there. So then at one point, Karna realized that I cannot defeat this person unless I know the Brahmastra. Okay, so he goes to Dronacharya and tells him that I want to learn the Brahmastra. Dronacharya, knowing why this person is doing this, says, I will not teach you the Brahmastra. So Karna says, okay, if you don't teach me, I will find a new guru. Dronacharya says, be my guest. And then he goes to Parshuram and learns all the accusations and Brahmastra. So there is no caste angle here at all. Whatever happens to Karna is because of his own vrittis and swabhavas and matsarya. It is nobody else's fault. It is his own karma. And that is what Krishna tells him in the end. Yesterday, there were these 2-3 young boys who had come from the 7th grade. So one of them asked me that, why did Krishna ask Arjun to kill Karna when he was trying to get his Veena? Yeah? Why did he do that? Actually, he's not killed when he's trying to get his Veena. The whole description is worth reading. Yeah? Both of them are fighting excellently. Yeah? Both are injuring one another. At some point, so before that, at one point, Karna gets his Sarpa Astra. Okay, and he is trying to take position. He is trying to target Arjuna. Shalya, who was his Sarathi, is telling him, Arey Baba, your position is wrong. This will miss the target. You know what Karna says? He is an extremely arrogant man. He says, Karna doesn't take position twice. I have taken it, I will leave it. He does that and he misses the target. Okay, so while this is going on, then Krishna says he is a fit opponent to use the Divyastra. So you will use your Divyastra. So Arjun takes out the Raudrastra. Seeing Arjun take out the Raudrastra, this guy tries to use the Brahmastra, but he forgets. Okay, he forgets the Brahmastra. Hence he is nervous. And then he realizes his wheel is going down. Now many times in the war, Arjun has stood on the ground and fought. Many times. Fighting from the ground was never really a problem. Especially for the Maharathis. Okay. So he could have continued fighting. But because he forgot the Brahmastra and he couldn't remember the other Divyastras he had, and he saw Arjun holding the Rudrastra, what does this man do? He jumps up. Only because of that, he jumps down and he says, oh, I'm trying to pull my Veer out. You don't kill me. And he doesn't stop there. He is giving bhashan. He is telling Arjun, remember your dharma. You must remember your dharma. Krishna says, what dharma are you talking about? Because he says, because he's forgotten the Brahmastra and his wheel is going down and he's jumped down because now he's scared. He says, Nityam na paripati dharma. He says, although we say dharma rakshati rakshitaha, that dharma protects those who protect dharma, actually that is not always true. Because look at me, now my dharma is not protecting me, I have forgotten. Yeah? And he tells Arjun, but you remember your dharma and don't attack me. Krishna says, very nice. Wow, now suddenly you think of dharma. Very good, very good. Where was your dharma just 2 days back when all of you killed Abhimanyu together? He did not even have any shastras in his hand. 6 of you killed him together. Where was your dharma? Where was your dharma when you all incited Draupadi the way you did? Where was your dharma when you tried to burn Pandavas along with their mother in the Rakshagriha? Where was your dharma all this time? Now you are suddenly remembering your dharma. Wow, wow, wow. Arjun, there is no need to show any leniency on him. You keep fighting. Karna also keeps fighting. And in the battle, eventually he is killed. It is an absolutely fair battle. Karna trying to wriggle out at that point. He's done that many times. While a lot of people say he was the best warrior and all that. Was he a good warrior? Absolutely. He was definitely a very good archer. But when people say, oh, he was way better than Arjun and all that, all that is just exaggeration. There is not one instance in Mahabharata where face to face Karna has defeated Arjuna. In fact, in the war, many times Abhimanyu has defeated Karna. Satyaki has defeated Karna. Okay, not to say he was not a good warrior, but he was no match to Arjuna by any means. Because in the Virat Yuddha, Karna was there, Bhishma was there, Dronacharya was there, Duryodhana was there, Kripacharya was there, Ashwatthama was there, they were all there. Single-handedly, Arjuna defeated all of them. Right? What comparison are we even doing? Anyways, that's beside the point. But the point is, what happens when we don't know our Itihāsa for what it is? We take away such shitty conclusions that he was wrong because of his jati. And then, what is the bigger narrative? Your samaj is only casteist. Your samaj is only casteist. Now we see the other thing here. We are told, we were always very, very orthodox and rigid. How did all these mixed jatis come about? Suta is a mixed jati, Nishad is a mixed jati, Shakta is a mixed jati. How did they come about? If the society was so rigid. Right? Vedavyasji, Satyavati was a Nishada. Yeah, she was a fisherman's daughter. Parashar Rishi was a Brahman. Do we look down upon Vedavyasji? He gave us the Mahabharata. Why don't we challenge when such narratives are imposed on us? Because we don't know it. Now, many places, when I say all of this, everybody goes out and they're like, oh man, excellent talk, excellent talk. All because of the Mughals and the Britishers. We have been kept deprived of our Itihāsa. Not to say they did not have a role to play, but please, let us get out of this mentality to throw allegations on others and escape from our own responsibility. Even today, I am asked, ma'am, you talk on Mahabharata, but are you sure we can keep Mahabharata at home? Because we've been told, what? Fighting. Mahabharata तो घर में रखोगे तो महाभारत हो जाएगा. Which Britisher came and told us in our Khan that if you read the Mahabharata, Mahabharata will happen. And why is Mahabharata a bad word? Who has told us this? Can we blame the Mughals and the Britishers for this? No, we have ourselves to blame. If we have decided to close our buddhi and junk it, we deserve what we get. Mahabharata is called the Pancham Veda. It is called a Punya Shastra. It is said people who desire victory and to live a worthwhile life must read the Mahabharata. It is said that any aspects of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, yat iha asti tad anyatra, yat iha nasti na kutrachit. Whatever things that you find about dharma, artha, kama, moksha, which you find in Mahabharata, you will find everywhere else. What you don't find here, that you will not find anywhere else. A book so comprehensive about human psychology, relationships, dharma. We said घर पे मत रखो, पढ़ो मत. क्यों? क्योंकि apparently महाभारत हो जाएगा. And even today, we are actually believing in these things, right? So again, my main point is, let us know our Itihāsa. Let us own our Itihāsa. Let us own our narratives. It is not very difficult. Everything is available online also now. Yeah, there are lots of resources. So with this I'll end and I'll open it up for questions. Yeah. There we have it.
Thank you. So, just wanted to understand the interaction between karma and Parshuram. So, you mentioned about how it was depending on his karma, he was treated and not because of his jati and all. But then, how do you justify the sharp given by Parshuram to karma and that instance?
Why do you think I should justify it? Why do you think it needs a justification?
I mean, that particular incident where his guru is lying in his lap and taking a nap, and some.
Tell me, why did Parshuram give him curse?
Because he lied.
you're asking me to justify that? Is it okay to lie? Then we're done now, justified it. Thank you. Next one.
Are you thinking about the word Itihāsa and history the same way? Because my question depends on that.
You asked the question.
Okay. I was just wondering, so you're thinking about Mahabharata and Ramayana as Itihāsa rather than mythology. So I'm just wondering if the ultimate goal is to learn from Ramayana and Mahabharata. Would that make such a big difference if we think about it as Itihāsa or we think about it as mythology, a reflection of our collective?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Has anybody been through these schools here? Business schools? Yeah. Have you done case studies? Right? For you to really know and get a takeaway from the case study, any random story made up by people can do, no? Why do you need a case study which is based on real life? Why? Anybody can create a story. Why don't we take fictional work for case studies? Why do we take only a real life example for case studies? Sir, you, because you've been through it, that's why I'm asking.
Right. I'm not sure because the case studies that I have read, they say specifically that this has nothing to do with
That
the
is
actual
just a
discipline, etc.
This is just a disclaimer. Actually, decision no, but the situation is the same. What you come up with a decision is your own, but the situation is not fiction. Why? I want you to just think about it. Why? I'm not trying to put down anybody. I'm saying why do you think it's important, right? Because otherwise it's right. If you only have to learn, why are we so fussed about it being history? Yes, ma'am. The one who raised your hand.
Is it because the
Oh man, I'm not your t-shirt.
is it because the real life situations are more likely to happen again?
And they are real, so our learnings will be real, right? Otherwise, the imagination is restricted by the person's intellect and imagination, right? So your learnings actually will not reflect what the actual situation demands you to do. You can always learn from Harry Potter also, right? There is nothing like learning, हर जगह से हो सकता है. That is one. But the second, when it is Itihāsa, why should I not accept it as Itihāsa and be okay with calling it mythology? Is the other question I'll ask, right? Why should I reduce my history to mythology when tradition is very, very clear about what it calls Itihāsa? When it is telling us it is Purva Vrittam. What is the harm in believing and accepting this as Itihāsa? Now, if everybody is going to tell me, give me a proof, I am going to say this. Till few years back, they dated the Indian civilization to 1500 BC. Today, we have sites which go back to 5000, 6000 BC. Are we saying that only what we know is the truth? Or have we said that archaeology is done with all the truths it has to find? Which means, just because I don't exactly have an evidence, it is false. Why will I buy that when the study is still going on? That is one. Second, the first thing, as I said, Itihāsa is called by tradition, and tradition was very clear about what it called what. It did not call a Vishnu Puran Itihāsa. It did not call a Shiva Puran Itihāsa. It only called this Itihāsa. Okay. So, itna to I have to trust my wishes. Second thing, we do know there are archaeological evidences of Dwarka. There has been one of our historians, B.B. Lal. Lord of his work, he says that the area underneath Meerut in Uttar Pradesh is where we have, where Hastinapur was. Okay, and Indraprasth is basically the old Delhi, Purana Delhi part. Yeah. Uske alawa, if you read the text itself, you will see that the details are so, it is so detailed about some of these things. If it was meant only as a mythology or an entertainment, we didn't need it. For example, in Mahabharata, we have been given a list of 50 plus generations, kings of the Pandavas. Yeah? So the Kuru dynasty along with all its branches. Similarly in Ramayana, we've been given like 30 plus ancestors of Sri Ram and some 23 plus ancestors of Sita Ma. Now already Mahabharata is 100,000 shlokas. Why will they have complicated their life by giving all these descriptions? There are also so many geographical descriptions mentioned, so many rivers mentioned. If it was all just mythology, what was the need of all this? Yeah, so there are enough and more. And now there is this whole study going on based on the observations of nakshatras. In both Ramayana and Mahabharata, there are lots of observations about how was the position of certain nakshatras in the sky when particular incidents happened. Yeah, based on that, a whole dating thing is happening along with other hydrological, archaeological, all those evidences. So a lot of work is going on. Yeah. So just because as of now I don't have an exact array, this is Indraprastha, I will not dismiss it. Next question. Jeevan.
Just the part about, the Kurukshetra war being stopped for Arjun to get his questions answered by Krishna, which leads to 1800 or is it 18,000 verses?
No, 700 verses. Bhagavad Gita.
But stopping the war for a considerable period of time, and that part seems a bit, far-fetched.
Could be, as I said, it's Kathayuktam, right? So there will be some metaphors. That does not dismiss the entire story completely. It could have been 5 minutes, it could have been 5 hours. But we know that everybody was patiently waiting and the war started only after that talk was done, right? Maybe the whole extension of the verses and all that did not happen exactly the way it was. How does it change the story? As I said, there is Kathayuktam. There will be certain metaphors which don't completely make sense to us. But you will see that those metaphors have no bearing on the story per se. Yes, sir.
So, in response to her question, right, I was reading somewhere that the concept of time and space was very relative. We are learning it right now, but that time for Krishna to go through 700 phases maybe was 2 hours, but the onlookers it was just 2 minutes.
Correct, exactly.
Because the concept of time and space is still relative. Our physicists are learning today, but they knew they were more advanced than what we are learning.
In fact, even now, if you just play the Bhagavad Gita, just the Bhagavad Gita, without any translations, without any singing or anything, it will hardly be 2 hours to 2.5 hours. Yeah, even now. But so stopping the war is not really. How does it matter if it's 2 hours really? Next, I think yes.
Actually, here is the question.
Oh, sorry.
I'll ask more of a basic question. In the beginning, as you said, and as we believe, it's Valmiki Ramayana is the original story, right? Question is, what other stories are currently followed, and where do they divert from Valmiki Ramayana? And is there, a follow-up question would be, is there a similar way that Gita is followed differently? Is there a different Gita, different stories that follow?
Got it. So I'll take the second one. First, there are lots of Gitas, but they have different names. So the Srimad Bhagavad Gita is only one and accepted everywhere, which comes from Mahabharata. Okay, there are no other versions of Bhagavad Gita. There is Vyas Gita, there is Uddhav Gita, there is this Gita, that Gita, but they are not this. It's very clear that this is something else, yeah? So the Srimad Bhagavad Gita is only one which comes from Vyas Rachit Mahabharata. For Ramayana, do you want to take a guess which is the usual one, which usually when people talk Ramayana, think Ramayana, what are they really talking about?
Ramcharitmanas.
Huh?
Adhyatma Ramayana.
Not Adhyatma.
But that is Adhyatma Ramayana version, right? Ramcharitmanas is Adhyatma Ramayana.
Okay, that way, yes. But I'm saying, what do we know it as typically, yeah? So Ramcharitmanas. Ramcharitmanas has been penned by Tulsidas ji in the 16th century, right? Tulsidas ji is not a contemporary of Sri Ram. So you know why, the other reason why only 2 texts are called Itihāsa? Because both the people through whom we get those are both contemporaries of those incidents. Vyas and Valmiki. They were present there in person when Sri Ram was a king or when the Pandav Kaurav story and all that happens. Yeah? So being contemporary is another hallmark for Itihāsa. None other text is actually that. Okay. Also within Ramayana, like the whole Vyaktitva of Sri Ram is actually a little different in Ramcharitmanas versus Valmiki Ramayana. Because Valmiki Ramayana, while there is definitely a mention of Vishnu Avatar, by and large, Valmiki ji has written about his Raja. Okay. That narrative changes actually in every other Ramayana that we have after that. Okay. Now, lot of people, it's not Ramcharitmanas, while it is the most famous, because in majority of the north, that is what is read and understood. But you have Kamba Ramayana, which is very well known in parts of Tamil Nadu. There is Itihāsa Ramayana, which is Bengali, correct. So there are lots of these. But if they, and you know what people say, people ask me that, should we discard that? No, they all have their value. Yeah? Ramcharitmanas is a bhakti grantha. It is not an Itihāsic grantha. It is a bhakti grantha. It has its value. In fact, it was written at a time.
Vaishnavite movement after that.
Yeah, but what was the social condition at that time? We were under the Mughal rule. Our temples were being broken. Our women were being taken away. Our jizya was imposed on us, right? Surviving as Hindus was difficult. We needed Shraddha, we needed hope. Ramcharitmanas gave us that, right? But Tulsidas ji has done an immense service to all of us by making the story of Sri Ram accessible to all of us in the local dialects, in Avdi, right? That said, if there is a difference in the Itihāsic narrative, in history, then we must go by Valmiki Ramayana. Let me tell you a very small, very trivial difference, so to say. We know that there was a pool built, okay, to go to Lanka. How was the pool built? How was the bridge built? Stones written on Sri Ram stones, right? That is not how Valmiki Ramayana talks about it. Valmiki Ramayana actually talks about Rama Setu as a proper engineering exercise, where big boulders, big tree trunks are taken, tied, and the pull is created over 5 days. There is no Terte Hue stones. Okay. There is no Kaivat episode. Because again, Tulsidas ji is writing about the Ishta of his Ishta. He is writing about his Bhagwan. Okay. Valmiki ji is writing about the Raja of his time. Also, the Lakshman Rekha. We all know there is a Lakshman Rekha. Many versions talk about the Lakshman Rekha. There is no Lakshman Rekha in Valmiki Ramayana. It is very simple. When Sita ji insists, provokes, instigates, using every kind of words to Lakshman ji to go help Sri Ram, all Lakshman says is, hey Vanadevta, protect her. Her buddhi may lead to her downfall. Her buddhi has become prashta. Kind of words she says. She says things like, you have come only for me. You are not going to help Sri Ram. Why? You are Shatru Mitra Mukham. You are a Shatru in the face of a Mitra. You have come only and only to wait for this avsar that Sri Ram goes away and you can eye me. But let me tell you, I am not going to come with you. If something happens to Sri Ram, I will die. All that she says. Not because she wants to insult Lakshman. She is genuinely worried. Because she is genuinely worried. And sometimes when worry, anger takes over you, you don't know what you're talking about. That is what has happened here. Lakshman is so upset and agitated because Shuruat mein he listens. Then he can't take it anymore. He says, your words are pouring into my ears like molten iron. Fine, let Vanadevtas protect you, I'm going. So there is no Lakshman Rekha, like literal Lakshman Rekha. But there is a Rekha still violated. It is the Rekha of Lakshman's Sahanshilta. That is the metaphor of Lakshman Rekha. Yeah? So there are lots of these things. So at what point they diverted all that, I don't really know, because there are lots of Rama Ramayana story is written, retellings written on Valmiki Ramayana. However, when Itihāsa is considered, we can only consider Vyas Rachit Mahabharata and Valmiki Rachit. Sorry. There was one person who had. हाँ कोई पीछे जाना है यहाँ पे वो सुन के अशी
First of all, thank you for such a fascinating talk. So my question is that I recently read that both Sri Krishna and Sri Ram were meat eaters and they were non-vegetarians. And in our current situation, the idea of a devout Hindu is intrinsically situated with your being vegetarian. So
one second. How many people are non-vegetarians here? More than 50%.
So maybe politically.
No, one second. Are we saying they are all non-devout Hindus? Hitler was a vegetarian. Was he Hindu? If that is the proof of being devout. Okay.
So the narrative which I'm talking about the perception. The narrative which is being created, it could be because of the current government, that Hinduism, central to Hinduism is vegetarianism. So,
sorry, one second. Where did the government talk about this?
Politically, I think if you find all those like where beef eating, even northeast societies which are beef eating
is very different from non-veg, no?
But even in our current idea of non-vegetarian, like I think from what I read, if that's correct, eating the meat of a deer is not something common. That was something relegated to this idea of that Ram especially was, that's the meat he ate while he was in the forest because there was not, nutritious food available. So, so this idea that vegetarianism, at least for me personally, it was a kind of a little shocking because I grew up primarily because we don't read our own text, that I assume that Ram and Krishna are vegetarians.
Okay, Sri Ram and Krishna were warriors, right? As warriors, you need a lot of rajas, right? For rajas also comes from food. They were eating meat for their requirement. It is very clear and directly mentioned, okay? But should it have a bearing on anything that we talk about them? No. They needed rajas for a lifestyle that they lived, which was very, very physically taxing. Can we use that as a justification for eating meat today? No, we have enough reasons for rajas that can crowd that we have, right? Our lifestyles are not like that. So people can eat what they want to, but we don't need to tie it back to what Sri Ram or Sri Krishna ate. They ate what was in need of their times, right? IIMA mentions about non-veg. Now I must say this, I am a vegetarian, I don't even eat eggs. But that is my own choice, right? Also, our texts very clearly say that as you grow along the path of Adhyatma, you should eat more and more and more sattvic food, okay? Non-veg does not fall into the sattvic food category. Okay, so that is what it is. We really don't need to get too hung up on the veg, non-veg part of it. We do not need to impose our current requirements and situations on them. Today, even the meat is genetically modified, right? That was not the case then. They had to fight, they hunted for their food. It was a purushartha they did for that as well, right? Lot of meat was eaten during the yajna, basically as a sacrifice, and then it was eaten. Yeah, there is a story in Mahabharata. It's actually a beautiful story, but it is linked to this. So, when I think it's Kamyak one or one of these one, the Pandavas have lived there for many years. Now, there is a very big difference in the Vanvas of Pandavas and Sri Ram. Okay. In Sri Ram's Vanvas, it is they have to live like tapasvis. Okay, so it's only the three of them. Pandavas Vanvas is not like that. They have a lot of people who've gone with them. Okay, there are Dhaumya Rishi, there are other rishis who keep visiting them. Then they have their servants who've also gone with them. Okay, so that Vanvas is very different. It is a stay in the Vanam, but not necessarily like tapasvis as it was for Sri Ram. Okay. So one day we are told that Yudhishthira has a dream. In the dream, there is a mriga, there is an animal who comes in the dream and he's crying. Why is the animal crying? Because he says, you've lived here for too long. For satisfying the need of your guests and all of you, a lot of us have been hunted. We are at the level where our lineage will get distinguished. Okay. Hence, I request you to go. Come back when we have again reached a good level. Yeah, again when we have flourished here. Immediately in the morning, we are told, Yudhishthira is like, yes, what that Sapna was right or not right is a different matter. But he says there is a logic and we will go from here. Right? What does this mean? That clearly they were eating also. Right? And it's okay, we don't need to be judgmental with respect to food. It was what it was then. Okay? And let's not confuse all this government, Hindutva, vegetarianism. No, please, there is nothing like that. Okay? These are all narratives which we are reading. Are you telling me that in the current government there is no non-vegetarian? And linking devoutness of Hindus with vegetarianism is absolutely unfair. Are we saying none of the Bengalis will ever be devout? Right? No, let's not do that. Yeah, let's not do that. The Shastras haven't done that. The government is not doing that. Okay, so of course there are these confusions and I'm glad you asked this question because these are issues which we are faced with and there are these narratives as well. Yes, sir.
So my question is, if this is Itihāsa and these are all case studies that we're talking about, like you mentioned at the beginning, history is written by the victor. But if you go back to the story of the Mahabharata, like really Dhritarashtra was the older son, he should have been the king, the Kauravas, Duryodhana should have been the king. So the whole premise is based on, an arbitrary switching of, right? So where is the Dharma Shastra in this then?
Okay, so first of all, was it that always the eldest son only became the king? No. Shantanu was the second son. His older brother had left. Okay. Dhritarashtra was physically disabled. That is why he was not made the king. A king had to go out and fight. Okay. So there was a reason why he was not made the king. You had to be physically fit to become the king. Especially whatever options are available. If there is another option available, then you might as well do it. Also, there is not that much difference between Dhritarashtra and Pandu. It's almost the same time. Right? Yudhishthira was actually the older one. So going by the older one, Yudhishthira was right to become the king. It is not Duryodhana's property. Also, lots of kingdoms are divided across brothers. Hastinapur also. So Shantanu's younger brother, I forget his name, the whole bulk was given to him. The kingdom of Sri Ram was divided amongst the sons of Lakshmana and Bharat and all of that, right? So that has also always happened. There was no rule that Dhritarashtra bada hai to sirf usko hi milega and there will be no division. No, there was nothing like that. Okay. That is why when Bhishma suggests that let's divide Hastinapur, let's have Indraprastha and all that, nobody says that as a human. This was a practice which was always there. It was inheritance, no? So inheritance comes to everybody. Okay. But let's take this question. I'm glad you reminded me. Thank you so much. History is written by victors. Correct? Hence, Pandavas are good because they were victorious. Kauravas are bad because they lost. Who tells us the story of, and actually this narrative is not wrong, victors. We know what has happened to our history during the colonized period. We know what has happened to the history because of people who have written it still being colonized. So it is right. But let's see if this is valid for Ramayana and Mahabharata. Let's see Mahabharata. Who tells us the story of Mahabharata?
Yes.
Who is Vyas?
He is the son of
He is the son of Satyavati and Parashar. What else?
He impregnates Ambika and Balika.
Correct. He is the blood father of Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Which means he is the grandfather of Kauravas and Pandavas. He is not a poet. There is no reason for him to suck up to the Pandavas. He is talking, he is narrating the history of his family. Can there be a more unbiased source? And if he had to be biased, who do you think he would be biased towards?
Dhritarashtra's son.
Why?
Because Ambika and Ambalika.
Older.
Ambika's son was Dhritarashtra?
Huh? Is that only why he'd be biased towards them?
Because I think he will be biased towards Vidur.
But then both were his, na? Pandavas also Pandavas, na? Ambalika's only. Ambika and Ambalika. So why did he differentiate between them?
Dhritarashtra was blind and he was biased to blind son.
But if he was biased just because of this, he would have made Kauravas look better. But was that the reason? Is there anything else?
I don't know if it's true, but aren't the Pandavas actually not genetically related
Absolutely. Absolutely. The blood of Vyas ji does not flow in the arteries and veins of Pandavas. They are all born through yoga. So if he had to be biased, psychology would tell us that he would be biased towards the Kauravas because his blood was in the arteries of the Kauravas, not the Pandavas. So does this narrative apply on us? No. While it is true for everything else, it does not apply on us. And hence, there could not be a more unbiased source of history being narrated. Jeeva.
Yeah. First of all, thank you again. This has been an enlightening session. So I have a couple of questions. One, I was hoping you'd touch upon it, so I request you to do so now, which is women empowerment topic, right? So how were women, differently empowered or more liberally empowered than what we assumed them to be during those times? And secondly, what about the avatar part of things, right? I can totally understand, and I think I seem to, right now in my mind, agree with the Itihāsa part, that this is history and these were the kings of those times and they were illustrious kings with great values and qualities and so on. But we seem to be getting this narrative also that they were Bhagwan ke avatar, right? So what is the distinction between just historical figures versus avatars?
For the second one, irrespective of what my Shraddha is, I would actually agree with what this gentleman said. It doesn't matter. You will still learn what you have to do. You may consider them Bhagwan, you may not consider them Bhagwan, you may consider them great souls. Yeah, that is one. Second, there is a very interesting thing which Krishna says in Vibhuti Yoga. Okay, he says, wherever you see excellence, Utkrishtata, Vibhuti-mat, Srimad, there he says, you see me. And when he's saying that, he's not saying Krishna, he's saying, you see the divine. Okay. Nothing that is excellent can happen without Devanugraha, without that element of divinity. Some people are more realized, others are not, right? Think of it, we still call them Purushottam, the Uttama in Purusha, right? That is enough. You may not consider them Bhagwan on the side. That is, we have a story of them coming from a certain avatar. If somebody wants to believe it, it's great. If you don't want to believe it, it's great. It does not change anything in the story. But are they people who are a little elevated than us? Yes. Why is the question? Yeah. Both Sri Ram and Sri Krishna. It's not as if they did not have emotions, especially Sri Ram. I think Sri Krishna is already at a level of what he calls yogastha. Yeah, sthita pragya. He's already achieved that. You may call that Bhagwan ke karan, or you may call himself, that Krishna himself was a yogi. That is a perspective. Either way is fine. Eventually it is that only. Yeah. The thing is, when it came to taking decisions, they could take a decision in the most yogastha way. Now, what does it mean to take decisions in the most yogastha way? I'm a consultant. Okay. And I say this all the time. As a business consultant, I ENY, PwC, you name it. They are not creating anything. More often than not, they are taking your data, creating charts out of it, coming up with a down arrow. You could have done that, but still you didn't. And you end up paying them. Why? Everybody cribs up, but they still engage us. Unbiased. Why unbiased?
Because they don't gain or lose anything from what is going to happen from the outcome.
So, what makes you unbiased in any situation? Doesn't gain or lose anything. But what does that lead to? Objectivity. Not being emotionally involved. What happens when we are emotionally involved? We don't see the things for what they are. We see the things what we want to see. Right? Out of our vrittis, out of what we want to see, our desires, all of that. So we need somebody what we call a third party perspective. Because they can give us an objective view because they are not emotionally involved. But can we reach a stage where we can ourselves, while being involved, keep our emotions at bay and take a decision that must be taken, irrespective of whatever the outcome is, whether we like it or we don't like it? Can we develop that Sakshi Bhava? Very difficult. They had. Okay, they had. That is what differentiates us. That is why, what does Krishna keep harping on again and again and again? In Sankhya Yoga. He keeps talking about yoga, yoga, yoga. Yogastha buddhi, he says. Yogastha kuru karvadi, samatvam yoga uchyate, yoga karmasu kaushalam. What is all this? Patanjali Yoga Sutra says, Yoga chitta vritti nirodha, tada drashtum swarupe avasthanam. Yoga is achieving cessation. Basically, all the vrittis that keep happening, the thoughts keep going in our brain, make them shanta. Why? So that you can see yourself for what you are. Not easy. They achieve this. You may call them avatar, you may call them yogis. Eventually, it is the same thing. Because eventually, without that Devanugraha, this excellence cannot come. I genuinely believe. Yeah. Second question is on women empowerment. You know, this will be a very long answer because I don't know where to start. But probably I'll give you some examples. For others, I will say there is a whole chapter on Draupadi, you should read it. But typically, we are told that the Hindu Dharma, the Samaj has always mistreated women. They had no decision-making rights, etc. Let me tell you one incident from Ramayana. When Lakshman says that Ram, I'll come with you if you do Vanvas, Sri Ram says, Arey, you don't come, because if you come, who will take care of Kaushalyama, Sumitrama, right? Kaikeyi will not treat them well at all. So it's best if you don't come and you take care of them. You know what Lakshman says? He says, what will I take care of Kaushalyama? She has 1,000 villages under her control. She can take care of thousands of me. Thousands like me, she can feed and take care of. What will I take care of her? She is not dependent on anyone. This is for Kaushalyama. For Gandhari, we are told, Artha Shastra Visharad. So both Shakuni and Gandhari, we are told they were Artha Shastra Visharad. Okay. They were actually trained in Arthashastra. Arthashastra is not economics. Arthashastra is administration, which includes economics as well. Yeah? There are lots of these examples. Also, the one thing on Ramayana, we are told that Ramayana is all about misogyny. Okay. And that one incident, we are to correct. I actually have a very different view after reading the Valmiki Ramayana. I can put my foot down and say Sri Ram was actually used as a football by the women in his life. Who sent him to Vanvas? It is a woman who can have her way with one of the most powerful kings. Can she be oppressed? So if Kaikeyi is not oppressed, how do we label the entire society as misogynist? Not just that. When did Kaikeyi get the wounds? On a battlefield. When she saved Dashrath, which means women were being trained, no? And the kings did not mind taking them along when they were trained. Then how do we label a Samaj as misogynist? Let's talk what happens after that. If Sita Ma had not gone to the jungle, wouldn't Sri Ram's life and Lakshman's life be easier? Think about it, no? Life in jungle was not like coming on a tour of America. It was a tough life. They had to walk bare feet, they had to eat whatever was available, they had to, constantly protect Sita Ma from Rakshasas and everybody, right? Did Sri Ram say, come with me, you have to come because I am going? He's actually telling her, you don't come, you stay here. So first he says, you stay here, I need to go. You stay here, you take care of my mother and father and all that. She says, you don't teach me what is my dharma. My parents have taught me well. How can you say that you're going away without me? Nothing doing, I'm coming with you. Right? Sri Ram tries to discourage her. He says that no, life is very tough there. There will be jungly janavars, there will be a lot of, you'll be scared. You'll have to sleep on the ground, this, that, lots of things. She says, no, I'll come. He continues to discourage. She says, oh, nice. My father did not know that his Jamatar, which is Jamai, his son-in-law, is a Striyam Purusha Vigraham, is a woman in the form of a man. Why? You claim to protect everybody, the entire earth, you can't protect me. You know what Sri Ram says? And she starts crying. Again, she doesn't want to insult. But she's been pushing so hard, I want to go with you, I want to go with you. She also says, don't worry, I'll walk ahead of you and I'll cleanse your road of the pebbles. Please take me with you. Still, Sri Ram is trying to discourage her. Hence, she says that and she starts crying. Sri Ram hugs her. And he says, Devi tavavata dukkhena swargam api napi rahaviroche. Hey Devi, by giving you pain, I do not even wish the swarga. I will take you. I can protect you in every situation. Nobody can stop me from taking you. But, he says, Tava abhiprayam avignaya vasanda rochaye aranye. Without knowing your desire, I cannot impose a vanvas on you. But now that you want, I will take you. He is waiting for his wife's consent. And he is making sure that she knows what she is getting into. Right? It's not a picnic, he knows it. It's going to be a tough life. He does not want to impose that tough life on his wife. It is her call.
Could you focus on Urmila's perspective?
Yes, I wanted to.
Okay, I can focus on Urmila's perspective, but Valmiki Ramayana does not talk about it at all. Which means, any perspective of Urmila that you have heard is only Kahisuri Par. Okay. Even there, usual narrative is Bichari Urmila. My question is why Bichari? One is, couldn't she have said, you go, I will be here and take care of your parents or whatever, right? Let me not be a hindrance in what you are going to do in your life. While every character of Ramayana is so strong who make their own decisions, it could be Urmila's decision also. Right? Why does she have to be a Bichari? Second, it was not as if they were going on a picnic here. That, why did Urmila go? No. She could have chosen to not go. No? Sita Ma insisted she will go, come what may. Probably Urmila didn't wish to. Right? Why do we have to create whole victimhood narrative around it? Because we really don't know what her perspective is. Valmiki Ramayana doesn't mention about it. Valmiki Ramayana does not mention she was standing for 14 years. Valmiki Ramayana does not mention she slept for 14 years. Nothing like this. It doesn't just mention anything about it. Yeah.
I just wanted to share something that just came into my mind after you said about the Pandavas actually not having any of the blood of the, these guys. Similarly in the Ramayana, like both Rama and Sita, and Rama is not really the son of Dasharath, right? He's the product of that Yagya Payasam. And Sita was found in the fields. She's a foundling. So she's not really Janak's daughter, just like Ram is not really Dasharath's son. Biologically,
is Dasharath's son only. There is no confusion there.
Why? What about the yagya where the
there is no puja, there is a payasam, but they could have still had intercourse, no?
But does Valmiki say that since we're talking about Itihāsa?
No, that's what. They had intercourse and they had a kid. They were obviously trying for a long time. This could have been a medicine.
So this was hormones.
Could be, because Valmiki Ramayana does not say that Sri Ram is not his son. It says he is his son. For Sita, it is called Bhumija because she is found in the Bhumi. So she is not Janaka's daughter, that's very clear. But there is nowhere it is mentioned that Ram is, because then none of them would be Dasharath's son.
Right, because it's the
No, but it is different. Again, the others have also had, the Pandavas and all that are also born through Sambhava only. Okay?
Correct, but Kunti slept, she didn't sleep with anyone, but the gods divinely.
No, she slept with them. It is a Sambhava. So I'll tell you something very funny happened in one of the talks that I went to. People were like, science. We have to have scientific proofs for Itihāsa, this, that. I said, do you accept other religions? You accept Christianity? You accept XYZ? Yes, there are proofs for all of that. I said, okay, let's talk about science. I do not mean any disrespect on anybody, okay? So please take it in the right spirit. The birth of Jesus is called Immaculate Conception, okay? Which is without any intercourse. It is on the lens of science. Is it scientific? But we believe Christianity, right? So if we talk about science, then none of the belief systems will really stand, right? We get overly defensive about ours. But that is besides the point. So I mentioned something of this point. And then at the end of the session, one of the ladies, very nice lady, she got up to do a vote of thanks. And she said, ma'am, what a beautiful point you said. We should also say that Christianity mein there is one person born without sex. We have 6. She's like, see, Karna and all the 5 Pandavas. I said, Arey Baba. They are all born through the normal process. How? That is your conjecture, ma'am. I can't do anything about it. Yeah, that's your conjecture. Itihāsa doesn't say that. Itihāsa calls them Dasharath Putra only. Yeah, there is no third person who has come. There is a key here, but it doesn't say that they did it without intercourse.
Sorry. So, Ami, first of all, thank you for doing what you're doing. I have about 3 questions, right?
Oh, Baba, one question, please.
Very small questions. So, very generic, so I hope it will be easy to answer. First, what is the best way for us to find out about our history? Some of us may not have learned a lot or, move towards science very quickly. Second, is there other work that's being done to unearth or unravel our history? And third is, what made you choose this path?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so basically, okay, I will answer this very quickly. Is there other work being done? So actually, the works are there. Okay, this is all there and this is very easily available. So the translations of the critical edition of Mahabharata is now fully done by Vivek Debrojee in English. There is a version which is not of critical edition, but Gita Press version is also not bad. Okay, I won't call, the Hindi of that is actually pretty good. Both Ramayana and Mahabharata. Okay, these texts are there. There is an older version of Mahabharata translation. It is an archaic English which is available freely online, KM Ganguly version. Yeah? There will be little bit either differences, but by and large it is there. Okay, the best I would recommend is Vivek Debrojee's work from Mahabharata, which is a complete translation. Okay, there are books of C. Rajagopalacharya which are average, but they are very true to the original. Okay, those are also very good. 2 for starters. So I think those are already books there. So all this is available. Most of these PDFs are freely available online. Yeah. So there is not even we don't even have to try very hard. Knowing Sanskrit absolutely helps.
Yeah.
Absolutely this. No, however, it's not as if you should not try if you don't know. I would say make an effort, but I am not a Sanskrit expert. Okay, I have working knowledge of Sanskrit. But by continuing to read, you start learning. So it requires some work. At least basic Sanskrit if you learn, that is also a good start. But nahi bhi hai, so then, even then there are translations which are available, which you can definitely check out. Why did I start? As I said, I had lots of questions myself, and I realized that none of the existing fictional works was giving me a way out. Yeah. So then I realized that there is no shortcut really. I will have to read the text for what it is, not even an abridged version, because in the abridged versions the nuances are lost. A lot of my learning has been from the nuances, which are not spoken about in the larger story. Yeah. So that is basically where I began, and the need for learning Sanskrit, I realized when I was just starting to dabble, trying to get to know what it means to be a Hindu, why am I the way I am and all of that. Yeah. I picked up a book on Nyaya Shastra. I picked up a book on Nyaya Shastra, and there they were talking about many different kinds of arguments. Suddenly, I was reading an English translation. Suddenly, one line says, in this kind of argument, only people of the same caste can argue. And I'm like, abhi tak there is no caste. People of same caste can argue, it's just not making sense. Why is it written like that? So I tried to go back. I have been good with Indian languages anyways. So I went and I read the thing, and it had the word jati. Now anybody who has knowledge of any Indian language will understand the context of that jati. It meant species. So basically they were trying to say that when you're making a comparison, it has to be of similar species. Yeah? But the translator was so obsessed with jati caste that he made it caste. And where people were not even involved, he made it only people of the same caste. Yeah? And I was like, if I continue like this, then I'm done deal, right? I will be completely brainwashed. That's where I started picking up Sanskrit as well. So that's the part.
Great, really enjoyed everything you said. I just wanted to add a couple of comments to you. First of all, I wanted to say that, the Ramayana question, recently only I realized that Swami Ramanan's Adhyatma Ramayana was certainly a variation from Valmiki, and Retellings Ramayana plus Tulsi, they are identical in the way they are written, and that comes from Adhyat. So just wanted to share that. I think that is a big diversion, and I don't know if there are other translations as well for that. The other thing I wanted to say to everybody, IIT Kanpur has a wonderful site online. I also started learning, when you start reading the original, you will read, I think you're nodding very much, so I just wanted to say that. Please go to IIT Kanpur, it's free, the translations are amazing, you will see. And Valmiki Sanskrit is actually pretty simple. So that was the other thing you will understand, and so that was the last thing I wanted to, I know there was a lot of discussion about meat eating, and what I heard, and if you read Valmiki himself, right, there is a place where Rama says, I am going away to Chitrakoot because I eat meat, but the spiritual people here should not be, affected by that. And by the time we go to Kamban makes Rama completely vegetarian. But in Ramayana, he is very clear, Rama doesn't look down upon others who eat meat. In fact, he's very kind. And I heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, that it was a lot of invention was happening, a lot of learning was happening from Valmiki's time to Kamban's time, which is almost 10 centuries, where they realized the value of vegetarianism and later on. And I think in Ramayana makes it Rama Avataram. Until then, Rama was not an avatar, but Kamban is very true to Valmiki. So I just wanted to make those few comments because I think the biggest two variations in my mind, and I would love to know if there are, I think, other major variations, but Adhyatma Ramayana and Valmiki seem to be like big variations as opposed to the others. And again, thank you. And finally to you, yes, a lot of researches, I think you know this too, a lot of research is going on in history. And if you look, actually YouTube, there's a great person in Houston, there's a wonderful work coming out of Houston, Hindu University of America. A lot of researchers are doing significant work, especially with the, using stars and dating things and many, many other things. I just wanted to say that. Thank you, you are amazing.
Thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate your comments. So, IIT Kanpur, there is a Gita super site. Yeah? It has, like what ma'am mentioned, it has the shlokas and it has multiple commentaries of Gita. It's beautiful. I'm glad you actually reminded me.
And Valmiki Ramayana.
And exactly, it has Valmiki Ramayana also. But there is another site for Valmiki Ramayana which is called valmikiramayana.net. Yeah, that also has all the Sanskrit as well as the English. And valmikiramayana.net actually also gives you some very interesting notes and tidbits which you don't find in IIT Kanpur site, but it is there here. So even that site. So for Gita, I refer IIT Kanpur, but for Ramayana, I actually prefer the valmikiramayana.net. The thing on Adhyatma Ramayana also, Adhyatma Ramayana, lot of people say that Valmiki ji wrote it. Yeah, but really there is no proof for it. It has been dated to much later times, and and actually that's true that Tulsidas ji actually bases a lot of his work on Adhyatma Ramayana. Not just Kamba Ramayana. Actually, later on, a lot of Vaishnava texts also have sort of imposed vegetarianism on the text. Yeah, which was not originally there. It is much later there that vegetarianism has become the mainstay or started becoming the mainstay. It was really not the case. In fact, I have only one crib with the Gita Press translation of Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, what they've done there. So this is what sometimes happens, as even as translators or as people who retell, our biases always come in. Okay, so wherever the word masa has been used, you know what they say in the translation? Falka Buddha. What Falka Buddha? It is masa. But they have done that. Yeah. So that is a little bit of crib I have with the Gita Press one, because they just couldn't digest it. How can the gods eat meat? Right? So little bit of this happens, and that is why having a basic working knowledge of Sanskrit helps. Because when you read the text, it's actually no confusion at all. Yeah. Sorry, there was one circle.
Question I have, I just want to go back to the historical perspective. So, if let's just for the sake of assumption accept the fact that Ramayana and Mahabharata happened more than 5,000-6,000 years ago, potentially even 12,000-13,000 years ago. They must have had some influence on the Indus Valley civilization.
So I'll cut you short here. This is not my expertise area.
But I just want to ask this question because what I find puzzling a little bit is the Indus Valley civilization has no temples. There is no...
Again, I will cut you short here because this is not my research area. There are a lot of people working on it, so I don't want to make statements which I don't know. Yeah, so I'll just...
Namaste. Excellent discussion. I came late. I feel bad that I couldn't come earlier. My question is related to Sri Radha. In Mahabharata and Bhagavatam, how do you find Radhaji? Is it a creation of later day by Jayadeva, Gita Govinda? You know, there are questions like that. I know why you are saying that. It is a controversy going on for some time. So I just wanted to hear your perspective on.
Okay, please don't judge me and please don't put it online. There is no mention of Radhaji anywhere.
That's what
not in Bhagavatam, not in Mahabharata, not in Harivansha. However, there is a mention of Radhaji in Devi Purana. There, in Bhagavatam, there is a mention of a special gopi. Okay, but is she called Radha? No. In Mahabharata, there is a character called Radha. She is the mother of Karna. Okay, so Radha, Rani wala character is not even in Bhagavatam, but it comes in Devi Purana, where they have mentioned a little bit about it. A lot detailed description and stories actually seem to start after Gita. Yeah, so that does seem to be the case. Now let me relate it back to Ramayana. These things do happen. Okay. The question is, what do we do of it today? Okay, because today we do worship Radha Krishna more often than not. Yeah, there are sampradayas on Radha. How do we make sense of it? This is actually a very common phenomenon in our Sanskriti. For example, we have all seen Hanumanji with the Gada. Cannot imagine Hanumanji without the Gada. There is no mention of Gada in Valmiki Ramayana. Absolutely not. There is no mention of Rameshwaram in Valmiki Ramayana. Does that mean those places don't have any value? Does that mean Hanumanji without the Gada should be discarded? No. I have a very, my view on this is that we should keep Upasana Paddhati separate and Itihāsa separate. Yeah? Upasana Paddhatis, Sampradayas have evolved over time. How have they evolved? Some Rishi might have meditated on some deity, on some Rupa, and they might have derived some specific benefits out of it, adhyatmic benefits out of it. They must have established certain puja paddhati, and then others might have started following it, and it became a lot more popular. For example, Hanumanji, now people get very offended when I just mentioned this as a trivia, that Hanumanji is without a Gada in Valmiki Ramayana. But the truth is that maybe even in the 10th, 11th century, there are lots of mandirs which do not show Hanumanji with Gada. Yeah? Which means it is probably after that Hanumanji with the Gada became a lot more significant. Because usually when we see a Bhagavan, there is always a Dhyana Shloka. The Dhyana Shloka will attribute some Astra Shastra Vahana, Dvaja, to every deity. Yeah? Possibly that is what eventually started happening as the Bhakti and Puja Upasana started taking place more and more, and it started spreading more and more. Yeah? As I was mentioning even yesterday, that these things keep changing. Like today, and I'm writing that Skanda Kartikeya Murugan Puja, we see largely in the south, but that wasn't the case before. This puja was widespread across Bharat. Yeah? Now it is concentrated in certain parts. Similarly, past way there are some things which you will never see. Now they have become more center stage as Bhagwan and as puja. Yeah? So these things keep happening. Rameshwaram should be discarded? No. Possibly the Rishi who consecrated that linga could have been a deep Rama Bhakta himself along with a Shiva Bhakta, right? He must have had an avesh of Shri Ram. Who knows? And that is why that Kshetra is still very powerful. We feel it. There is no way to say no to it, right? It still has adhyatmic spiritual benefits. So I would say it is possible that Itihāsa does not mention the bhakti aspect of some of these things. We still shouldn't discard it. But we should also be clear what Itihāsa has. Yeah? And beautifully as a culture we have lived with this variety and diversity. Doing the upasana, knowing the Itihāsa. Yeah? And both of those matter. Yeah?
So just, I wanted to know what was your take on three concepts in Mahabharata. One is Dharmaraj Yudhishthira. He seems to have done a lot of wrong things, but he was still Dharmaraj. The second, well, he allowed Draupadi's Vasya, etc. Right? Second is Bhishma Pratigya. Again, sort of seems like something very noble, but because of that, a lot of things that, wrong things seem to have happened. And third is the Sthita Prajna, and what is your take on how we can become that?
Okay, so the last one, let me not answer. There are lots of ways and lots of other people who will be able to answer that question. Because I would say start with yoga. That's the easiest way. Not easiest, but that's one of the things you can do. About the first one, Yudhishthira, again the character of Yudhishthira which we seem to see that very indecisive, wanting to gamble away, all that is not true. In B.R. Chopraji's Mahabharata, a lot of decisions which are attributed to actually Krishna are taken by Yudhishthira in Mahabharata. Yeah? He's a man who is actually very, very stable, clear and quick-minded in taking whatever decisions he takes, and he always has a very strong rationale behind everything. I will not go into all that he has done. I have actually written a whole chapter on Yudhishthira in the book. I would request you to read it. As far as the Draupadi Vastraharan goes, though I think I want to just explain this bit a little bit. It also goes with the Bhishma part, yeah? First of all, a lot of people tell me that what again Stree hating, is Stree an object they tell me, yeah? Was Draupadi an object to be staked away? No, right? But why don't we ask, were the Pandava brothers objects to be staked away? They were all staked away. Where is the gender question here? Right? So, staking away was wrong. But this has nothing to do with gender. Let's be very clear about it. Because it is not as if they sat for gambling and they were like, Draupadi ko daw karo. Aisa nahi hota. right? Draupadi was stayed after everything was lost. Actually, after Yudhishthira loses himself, he says, I have nothing else to gamble now. Yeah, I have nothing else to do, I'm done. Shakuni says, you do. Draupadi Panasva Punarjaya. Stay Draupadi and win everything back again. Acha, now before that, this idea that we have that Yudhishthira was dying to gamble, that is also not true. When Vidur actually goes to Yudhishthira and tells him that your kaka has called you for a match for this gambling game, he says, one shouldn't gamble in the family, it leads to kalaha. Why are you inviting me for this? Vidur says, you can say no if you want to, but this is what your kaka is saying, so if you don't want to come, you say no. But you know, we have the benefit of hindsight. He didn't know what they will do, right? And all the Kshatriyas played Vyuta at that time. It was not something, Are Bape, aisa nahi tha, right? We see that Virat Naresh was also playing. It was one of the things they did. Okay, so he goes. Even there, when Duryodhana says that Shakuni will play on my behalf, Yudhishthira is very uncomfortable. He says, Arey, why? You have invited, you should play. So they now know that he's already caught here, right? So they say that, oh, if you want to leave, you leave. Again, benefit of hindsight we have. He doesn't know to what level they can fall, right? So he plays. Everything is lost. Then, when Shakuni says, Draupadi Panasva Punarjaya, you know what Yudhishthira says? Does? Yudhishthira goes on to describe every quality of Draupadi. And he says, she is a type of a stree every Purush would love as a life partner, every Grahastha would love as a life partner to fulfill Purushartha of Dharma Artha Kama. She's that kind of a stree. He's hoping somebody will say something. There was the daughter-in-law we are talking about. Okay, nobody does, Vidur does. But Vidur ko to Karna dismisses completely. Vikarna does, Vikarna is also dismissed. Yeah? The king is not saying anything. Nobody else is. Then we know that Duryodhana sent this guy to get Draupadi, and Draupadi says, Arey, first give me an answer. Was I staked after the king lost? Yeah. Because if I was staked after the king lost, then how have I lost it all, right? So this is going on. At that time, Yudhishthira, in Gita Press, there is a small mention where we are told that he sends a messenger to tell her that you come crying. Maybe that will create sympathy in the mind of the people who are sitting there, right? But Draupadi was already furious by then, and Dushasana anyways is putting her there. There also, Draupadi keeps asking this question. Jitam va api ajitam va. Okay. You know, this question was actually a very tricky question to answer, technically. Okay. She asked Bhishma, and Bhishma says, Dharmasya Paramagati, I can't answer your question. Ideally, he was the patriarch of the family. He should have stood up and said, Natak bandh karo. What is going on here, right? But he chose to follow his Sevak Dharma rather than the patriarch Dharma. And he kept quiet because the king was quiet. But the answer itself was very tricky. Okay. All the husbands were dasas by then. What was the status of Draupadi? Staked or not staked? Staked or not staked? What was the status of Draupadi if all her husbands had already become dasas?
Already staked.
Huh? No, but she is a wife, na? As a wife, what was her position? If somebody says she's not a dasa, you know what? Because she's saying, na, how can I be staying? Karna tells her, okay, then they are not your husbands anymore. Find another husband.
That's right.
Correct?
Yeah.
So basically the thing is, what is the sanctity of the marriage institution? Okay. If somebody says, you are lost, what will be her stature in that assembly? Uski kya izzat reh jati? Any answer was actually a wrong answer. Okay. Even if not stayed, they could have still pulled her. because the husbands were already dasas. Okay. By the way the situation turned out, they at least got freedom from dasatva thanks to Draupadi. Because then eventually when the Vastravaran happens and Bhim becomes very angry and he says, Dushasana, I'll rip your chhati apart, and there are these different nimittas, Dhritarashtra is now scared. And he finally wakes up and he's like, oh no, I will free everybody. Draupadi, you asked me boons and vardans and all that, right? And she says, first, free Yudhishthir from Dasatva, because my eldest son, Pratirindhya, cannot be called the son of a Dasa. He is a Raja's son. Then she says, free all the 4 brothers and return to them all their shastras. Yeah? Dhritarashtra says, ask more. She says, no. I know what is my limit. I cannot be more greedy than this. I did what I should do. As far as taking Indraprastha back is concerned, that is my husband's job. I trust them to do the right thing. Okay. That is that lady. Extremely graceful. You asked about the question of women empowerment. There is a whole section called Satyabhama, Draupadi Satyabhama Samvad, where Draupadi talks about her role as the queen of Indraprastha. The activities that she talks about, she says there is nobody in the entire Indraprastha who has complete insight into the treasury of Indraprastha. There is nobody in entire Indraprastha who knows what is the income and what is the expenditure. Only I do. Eko aham api vedmi, she says. Yeah? She's basically the CFO and CEO of Indraprastha. That is her position. Yeah? All the Pandavas have given her that respect and position. Yeah? But this was a tricky situation, nevertheless. Yeah? So, there is no justification for what happened at all. But we can't really completely blame Yudhishthir for it. He was just caught. And if you read his other decisions, his other approaches, there is a reason he is called the Dharmaraja. It is not because he was taking away his wife. No, that was just a situation where he had no way out. The one thing which we learn from it is that some of these things can be so dangerous, right? That a man like him, because when Shakuni is saying that you have something, Draupadi, after even he said I have nothing, right? We have a saying now, कि डूबते को तिनके का सहारा नहीं काफी होता है. At that point, you are so lost and so desperate. You'd be like, at least if I win, then what? Right? He had really no way out. Jeez.
So, there are a lot of things that you can talk about. But with respect to the original text, what are the top 3 distortions that you see in the current narratives that you see around us? Because there are many things that people could be off, but not the chinnu mannu like Gada or not Gada, but the top 3 narratives that are way off than what it was meant to be. And in the context of that, if you can also reiterate what is the definition of dharma and how it pertains to that.
Sure, okay. So one is, especially in Mahabharata, it is the whole caste narrative of Karna, right? That is one big thing. Second is, let me ask this question. What led to the Mahabharata Yuddha?
Little portion of land.
Portion of land.
Can you repeat the question?
Sorry. What led to the Mahabharata war? Huh? What did you say? Sorry, I didn't hear. Krishna Sanman. Krishna Sanman. No, what led to the Mahabharata war?
Dirty property.
Was it only a property dispute?
That was the defining thing. But obviously egos and so many things were involved.
Okay, fair enough. Usually there is one thing which I hear. I'm glad I didn't hear it. Thank you for that. People tell me, Andhe ka putra andha, Draupadi said.
Oh, that's
Yeah?
I didn't get it.
Draupadi says, Andhe ka putra andha, to Duryodhana. Right? We've seen all of that. Draupadi laughing and saying, Andhe ka putra andha. I'm glad none of you answered that, but this is typical answer I get in most places. That Yuddha happened because of Draupadi saying these words. Okay, this is another very big idea that people have. First of all, there is no Andhe ka putra Andha in Mahabharata. Draupadi was not even there when Duryodhana fell. Okay, so there is no Andhe ka putra Andha. But the other thing is, even if she would have said Andhe ka putra Andha, can we really attribute the war to her? Where was Draupadi when the Lakshagraha incident happened? Where was Draupadi when, as kids, Duryodhana tried to drown Bhima? Right? It is not because of Draupadi. The war is also not because of property. Pandava said, give us only 5 villages. You don't want to give us Indraprastha, rakho apne paas. If it is helping to keep the Sama, it is helping to protect the Kutumba, keep Indraprastha also. Give us 5 villages. What is the land dispute here? They were ready to even compromise on that. Duryodhana says, what 5 villages? I will not even give you a needle's tip's worth of land. Because I cannot live with you. Intense Matsarya Bhav. Yeah? Same thing if I talk about Ramayana. Okay? In Ramayana there is always this WhatsApp message that comes. I don't know if you have seen it during Dashera and Ram. It says, Bhai ho to Ravan jaisa. Okay, Bhai ho to Ravan jaisa. He willingly agreed to the destruction of Lanka as well. Why? To protect his sister. What did Shri Ram do? He left his wife. Ravan did not even touch Sita. Best icon of feminism, waited for consent. Sirf kidnap kiya. No, this is, have you not heard this? Right? Actually, this comes every Dashera and every Ram Navami. There is a WhatsApp message that comes. Okay. How great was Ravan? Wo to thoda bahut. Otherwise, see, he did nothing to Sita Ma. Okay. Now let me tell you this. What happened in this? Yeah, because this story itself will take some time. Shurpanakha, this is the other thing, that Shurpanakha was punished only because she was expressing love to Shri Ram. Yeah? एक स्त्री, लक्ष्मण और श्री राम बोला, एक स्त्री अपने प्यार का इजहार भी नहीं कर सकती. She can't even express her love. That she was, see the misogyny, her nose and ears were cut. Why were her nose and ears cut? Anybody? Because she attacked Sita. She tried to kill Sita because Shurpanakha thought it is because of this lady that Ram and Lakshmana are not saying yes to me. If I kill her and get her out of the way, they'll come to me. That is when Sri Ram pulls Sita back, protects her and tells Lakshmana she's crossed the line, she needs to be punished. Okay. After that, first she goes to Khar and Dushan and she tells them attack these two princes. 14,000 Rakshasas versus one Sri Ram. He kills 14,000 Rakshasas. That's the other thing. When we think of Sri Ram, we think of Arun Goyal. Sri Ram is actually extremely muscular and strong. He's a warrior par excellence. Warrior par excellence, very, very, very physically strong. Yeah? That is why in Bhagavad Gita, in Vibhuti Yoga, Krishna says, Ramo Shastra Pratamaham. He's a warrior par excellence. And the descriptions of his fight are mind-blowing. Mahabharata, yeah, was very strong. But lots of things. Yeah? So anyways, that is other thing where we don't really see Sri Ram as a warrior. He is a warrior out and out. To the extent, as I said, Gita says, Ramo Shastra Pratamaham. Where was I? Sorry, I forgot. So Shurpanakha. Shurpanakha is shocked. 14,000 Rakshasas killed. She runs to Lanka. She goes to Lanka. Ravan has no atapata what has happened. Okay, so first she goes and tells him, "Arey, you don't even know what's going on in your own Rajya. You need to pull up your socks here and all that, yeah?" Then she says, "See what happened to me." Ram is saying, "Arey, what happened? Why are your ears and nose cut?" You know what Shurpanakha says? First of all, before she tried to kill Sita, she's trying to convince them that how ugly this lady with you is. Okay? She's so ugly, she's so thin. What joy does she give you, all that she says. She goes to Ravan and she says, "This was done to me by Lakshman and Ram, they are two princes from Ayodhya who are staying there. And they have a wife. Ram has a wife. What is she? She's a Ratna among women. Sri Ratna. I have not seen a more beautiful woman." She goes on to describe every anga of Sita Ma. And she says, the person whom she hugs is like Deva. That much joy he will get. The person whom she hugs. Tava bharya anurupa. She is fit to be only your wife. Hence, I went to get her for you. When I went to get her, this is what Lakshman did to me. Now tell me something. Why would she have to lie to Ravan? Why did she have to lie?
She knew she was wrong.
So what?
His sympathy.
He won't do anything. Why?
Because he was a good man.
Was he? What did he immediately do? He went and kidnapped Sita. Not because Lakshman did anything. Because his entire anga was lusting for her. There is a reason why Shurpanakha described Sita the way she did. What was the need? She knew that her ears and nose will not do anything for Ravan. There was only one way to get him on his feet and do something, which was provoke his lust. And she was right. He stood up and went because he had to get Sita. He had to see this lady who was a Sri Ratna. Okay. Now, but he still didn't touch her. Great man. You know why he didn't touch her? Sabse pehle to, when he gets her from the forest and he's putting her in Ashoka, he tries to entice her to become his queen and this and that and all that. When she doesn't agree, he becomes very angry. And he says, "I'm giving you time. After that, Shayana Maroha, you better climb my bed. If you don't climb my bed in X number of months, I will chop you and eat you for breakfast." Prartharasham, he says, yeah. Still, he doesn't force himself on her. This question is asked by his own minister, when eventually the whole Ashok Vatika and all that, Hanumanji Dhwas, Ashok Vatika and all that happens. And suddenly Lanka is in a shock that who was this Hanuman who came and destroyed us? That time his minister is like, "Arey, why are you waiting? You don't need to wait. Enjoy her. Like a dog," he says. "Enjoy her." Ravan says, "There is a problem. There is a lady called Punjiksthara who I had raped. She went and complained to Brahmadev. The Vardhan that Ravan got was from Brahmadev. She went and complained to Brahmadev, and Brahmadev pronounced a curse that if he forces himself on any other woman, he will die. His head will burst." Okay. That is why he is not touching Sita Mama. Not because he loves this waiting for consent, kuch consent. In fact, Sri Ram waited for consent when he said that I cannot force the Vanvas on you. If you want to come, then I will take you. Right? Also, Punjiksthara was not the only lady who Shravan had raped. There were many and many and many women he had just picked up. Whoever he liked, he would just pick up and get them. Some ladies given to him voluntarily, others were forced. Okay, so there were lots of these. Punjiksthara was the Charam Sima when the curse was pronounced on him. Now the question is, again, as I said, Itihāsa is for us to learn. Okay, Itihāsa is for us to learn. Also, it is called the Dharma Shastra. I'm going to end with two things here. As Sir mentioned, the meaning of dharma, because these both are called dharma grantha. And why do we call villains or the bad guys as bad guys? It is not about identity. There are some authors nowadays who say Ramayana is not about dharma. It is Aryan Ram killing Dravidian Ravan. No, it is not about identity. And you know who tells us this? Mandodari. After Ravan is dead, Mandodari obviously is upset. She comes, sees his body, she's crying. But she doesn't curse Ram. Generally, if somebody's husband has been killed by somebody else, they would have cursed, "Arey, you killed my husband," crying over that. She doesn't blame Ram at all. Instead, she says, "I'm not surprised. Everybody gets the phala of the karma they do. Your karma was going to get you this phala only." Okay. Then she says, once upon a time, you won over your indriyas. Having won over your indriyas, you won over the entire Tribhuvan. He did tapasya. He did intense tapasya. To do tapasya, you have to take a sankalpa. You have to have intense mental, physical discipline. When he did that, he got the vada. He became very powerful. And he won over lots of things. Yeah? Draupadi said, once upon a time, Mandodari saying, that once upon a time, having achieved control over your indriyas, your senses, you won over everybody. These indriyas, no, they must have remembered that vairam, that enmity, because you enslaved them. Then they enslaved you. And that led to your downfall. Intense kama, intense ahankara. Everybody told Ravan his action will lead to his downfall and the destruction of Lanka, his mother, his grandfather, his wife. You okay? Everyone. He did not care. Same thing happens in Mahabharata. Everyone told Duryodhana and Karna, your action is going to lead to destruction. The destruction was not just about the Kaurav-Pandav families. It led to the destruction of the whole 2 generations of Kshatriyas from India, from Bharatvarsha. He was like, come what may, I cannot live with you guys. Right? Intense matsarya, intense ahankar. The thing which actually Mandodari has said, Krishna has always told us. Chapter 2, Bhagavad Gita. What does he say? Dhyayato vishayan punsaha sangasteshu upajayate. Dhyayato vishayan punsaha sangasteshu upajayate. Sangat sanjayate kama. Kamat krodho vijayate. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Sammohat smriti viprama. Smriti viprama buddhinasho. Buddhinashat pranashyati. Intense attachment leads to intense desire, leads to intense krodha, right? When krodha happens, we don't even realize what we are doing. Happens so many times, huh? We do an action and then we repent. He says, when krodha, kam, krodha, lobha, moha overtake your buddhi, pranashyati, downfall is guaranteed. There is no other way. This is exactly what has happened to who we call the villains. All their decisions were through the power of kama, ahankar, matsarya, krodha. That is what led to their downfall. It was nobody else's fault. It was not Krishna's fault. It was not Sri Ram's fault. It was they themselves to be blamed for the outcome that they faced. It cannot be any other way, because this is what the Dharma Granthas will teach us. And what is Dharma? What is Dharma? Dharma. Dharma, the root word comes from dhru. A lot of people say dharma is ethics, dharma is virtue, dharma is duty. My question is, why is all this required? Why indriya nigraha? Why do we talk about controlling the senses? Why do we talk about being objective? Why do we talk about truth? Why do we talk about non-violence? Why do we talk about justice? Why do these things matter? And what does dharma have to do with it? Sarvajana? Very good. It's for good for everybody, it's for benefit of everybody. That is the purpose of dharma. What is dharma? The definition of dharma, as Krishna gives us, he says, Dharanat dharmiti ahu, dharmo dharayati praja, yah syat dharana sayuktam, sa dharma iti nishchayah. Yah syat prabha sayuktam, sa dharma iti nishchayah. Dharanat dharma iti ahu. Ahu is, it is said, from sustenance, from upholding, from dharan karna. It is called dharma. Dharana dharmiti ahu. Dharmo dharayati praja. Dharma is what leads to the continuation, sustenance of the society. Yah syat dharana sayuktam. Only that which leads to sustenance is dharma. Dharma is the sustainability principle. Sustainability of what?
Society.
Society. But we are not all Mahan Atmas, that the society, the sustenance depends on us, no? Then why should it matter to us? Why should it matter to us? Why do we even talk about dharma? We are not Ram, Ravan, anybody. Nobody depends on us. Itihāsa has real lessons for all of us, individually. Right?
The collective karma
of
everybody that will cause the results.
It is sustenance of any system, not just the whole samaj. The whole samaj obviously is there the collective, but it is the sustenance of any system. What are systems? Our body. The kutumba that we are part of, right? And what do the texts say? Dharma eva hato hanti dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. If you protect dharma, dharma will protect you. If you destroy dharma, dharma will destroy you. What does that mean? Let's take the example of our body, right? If we take care of our body, eat what we must, sleep when we must, exercise when we must, the body will survive us long, it will help us to survive and thrive longer. But knowingly, if we act in a way that is harmful to us, again, why is it coming? Kam, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Matsarya. I know I have diabetes. Still that laddu I cannot control, jivha, tongue, taste. My non-control of my senses is leading to an action which is not helping the survival of my system. It is not allowing sustenance of my system. Dharma eva hato hanti dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. If I take care of it, the body will serve me longer. If I don't take care of it, the body will perish. Think about a family, the unit of a family. We all have to fulfill certain responsibilities to ensure this unit of family sustains, right? If one person says, I will only take, not give anything, my way or highway, but all of you better take care of me, will that family survive for long? In the beginning, some people will make some adjustments. After all, it's a family. But will that survive for much longer? After Mata Pita are dead, khatam. Right? So if we want to ensure we keep getting the benefits that we get from the family, we have to ensure we fulfill our dharmas towards the family. That is why dharma is a larger principle. We talk about pita dharma, putra dharma, patni dharma, all of it. Right? Only when we live in accordance with all this will the kutumba survive. Same thing you extend to anything else, right? And when does it not survive? When our decisions are not driven by what is needed, but what we like. What I like is driven by Kam, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Matsarya. So what is the underlying theme of our Shastras? One, Dharma matters for our own survival. Second, there is no substitute to Indriya Nigraha if we want to survive and sustain. Third, we have multiple dharmas. No? I have a Putri dharma. I also have an employee dharma. Now I also have an author dharma. Right? Many a times these dharmas come in conflict with each other. What has happened to Sri Ram or Arjun on the battlefield? Kshatriya dharma, which is also Raj dharma, versus Kutumba dharma. How do you decide? What was the Sankat in Mahabharata, in Ramayana? Pati dharma versus Raj dharma. How do you decide? Only way, so there is no running away from dharma sankat. Everybody faces it. The answer to that is again this, becoming what? Again, what is Gita talking about? Become yogastha. Do what you must. Don't worry about the outcome. But how do we know what we must do? By developing objectivity. How do we develop that objectivity? Through Indriya Nigraha. This is the same theme that comes back and back and back. And that, my friends, is why we must know Itihāsa for what it is. To take the right lessons so that we can apply it in our own lives. It's very easy to judge. Yeah? We read text and correct. Ram was right, this one was wrong, Ravan was great. Everybody, all judgments easy to make, no? Their lives are done. We still remember them. They have left a legacy. What about us? These steps are for us to learn from, not just to judge them. Judging comes naturally, fine, we must. Everything should be questioned. I am absolutely not against questioning. Questioning should be with the attitude to learn rather than to dismiss. That is where a little bit of difference has happened now. Yeah? But once you know Itihāsa for what it is, all your answers will be clear by itself. Thank you so much.